Thank you. About 12 years ago, I opened an event planning business. And the reason I did that is that I had been acting, I had been doing some television commercials, I had been doing some stage, and I had an agent out of Denver, but I had also turned 45 at that point. And, but 45 in TV years is 122. So you're only eligible for Depends and Polygrip commercials at that point. So I thought, what do I really want to do with my life? And I thought, well, I like to party, so why don't I open an event planning business? I knew all the caterers, I knew all the musicians and comedians in town, so I thought, how hard could it be? So I got a license and I went into business and started booking events. And in the beginning, it was really, really slow. I had a few children's birthday parties where I had a party clown. And then I graduated to a few solo musicians, maybe a guitar player, violinist at a wedding. And then months went by and I graduated to trios and to quartets. And after a year or so, I was doing catering plus full bands, big bands, 12 musicians at a time. And I thought, well, this is great. I'm actually making a living at something I really, really like to do. Life is great. Could it get any better? Well, yes, it could. About a month or so after I had those thoughts, I got a call from a lady in Kansas, and she wanted a party. And I thought, Kansas, that's going to make me a national event planner. How exciting would that be? So the way you do an event in another city is you hook up with an event planner in that city, and you say, this is what my client would like. Can you help me put it together? Because they know they're musicians and caterers, and you don't. So you put it together, you mark it up, and you sell the package. You fly into Kansas City, and you do the event, and you're the hero for your client. So I did it, and I thought, well, this is pretty easy. And then somebody in Austin called, and then somebody in Cheyenne called, and then I did an event in Angel Fire, and I started doing events all over the country, and I was just so excited. I thought, how can this get any better? It's wonderful. I'm a national event planner. And then the phone rang. And it was this very suave European voice on the other end. And he said, Donna, we would like for you to have a party for us. And I said, absolutely. What kind of party? He goes, well, it has to be black tie. It has to be top shelf. We need musicians and caterers. And we need to have linens and decor and china and crystal. It has to be beautiful. Do you understand? Valet parking. It has to be the top shelf. And I said, that's what we do. Hello. So he said, okay, well, I need to know how much it's going to cost. I said, where's your party going to be? And he said, it's going to be in Mexico. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an international event planner. This is great. And in my mind, I had this little movie going, you know, my toes in the sand and a little umbrella in my drink, tropical music. And I thought, this is just going to be fabulous. I'll be in Mexico, maybe get a tan, who knows. So I said, well, let me put some numbers together for you and give me about a week and then call me back. So I called an event planner in Texas who put me in touch with an event planner in Mexico, and the three of us got together and started planning this event. Now, the company I was planning this event for was coming from France. They were a French pharmaceutical company. So I said, okay, this is great. I got all the numbers. We got all they wanted mariachis, they wanted dancers, they wanted catering, they wanted the works. So I put it all together for them, put a big package on it. And my husband said, if you're going into Mexico, I really prefer you to stay on the American side of the border because I can't go with you. And so tell them you want a driver. If they really are interested, they'll provide a driver. So I said, okay. I thought it probably sounds too good to be true. It probably is. Because the price tag was huge for me to fly in, spend a week in Texas, and pay all of these people, plus have a driver. So when he called me back, I gave him the price, and I said, now here's the thing. I'm going to need a driver because I'm going to stay on the American side of the border. I'm not going to go to Mexico. And he went, it's not a problem. We'll get you a driver, and we'll have a bodyguard. And I thought, bodyguard? I mean, if you're trying to impress me, you had me a driver. So he said, okay, it's not a problem. And I said, well, here's the deal. I'm going to need a contract signed today, and I'm going to need a 50% non-refundable deposit right away because I have to book this gig, and if I don't get it, it can't happen. He said, it's not a problem. Well, I had the money in my account that afternoon, and he faxed me back a contract. Now, I have to tell you, I had about 4 months to plan this event. So in my mind, I still have that little movie going with my umbrella and the tropical music and my toes in the sand. I have actually never been to Juarez. Or somewhere near Juarez. So he wanted a big conference center for this. Again, I've never been to Juarez, so I wasn't quite sure what the conference center situation was like. But my Mexican contact and my American contact in Texas sent me all these pictures of this beautiful conference center. It was gorgeous, and I thought, well, okay, they've got a great conference center there. Assured me about the catering and the linens and the decor, valet parking, no problem. And I said, all talent has to be bilingual. No problem, got them all. So I said, okay. So I had 4 months to plan it, flew into Texas about a week ahead of time, met with I was in El Paso, Texas. I don't know if any of you have ever been to El Paso. It's an exciting city. So I went into El Paso, checked into the hotel, and every day I daily met with my Mexican event planner and my Texas event planner, and we worked together. We met talent, we did contracts, we paid out deposits to everyone, and all was going really good. And I thought, well, this is just really great. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm going to be an international event planner, and it seems like it's so easy. So the night of the event comes along. I went up to my room and put on my little black cocktail dress and a little spackle and some lipstick and grabbed my passport, and I went down to the lobby to wait for my driver and my bodyguard. So I go in the lobby, and here are these two guys, mountainous men with huge bulging arms and chest, you know, the kind you see at the gym. And they've got little ponytails. They're wearing black suits. They have radios in their ear, and they're holding up a sign that says Donna Vessey. So I said, I'm Donna Vessey. And they're like, well, we're here to take you to the event. And I said, okay. So I've got 2 men in black. I've never seen or met before. I'm armed with a tube of lipstick and my passport. And we get into a black SUV with dark windows with two guys I've never met before. Isn't that exciting? To go to somewhere in Mexico, somewhere near Juarez. It wasn't actually in Juarez. And there's not like signs that you say now entering Colorado Springs, now entering Juarez. It doesn't happen quite like that in that country. So I get into this SUV, and off we go. We cross the border, and this was to be a 20-minute drive to where we were supposed to go. And these guys really weren't, you know, they weren't talkers. And I'm a girl, and I'm like, tell me the sights, what are we going to see, what are we going to do? Well, the driver never spoke at all. My bodyguard, who we're going to call Mr. T for the rest of this story because he was just huge, he said to me, don't worry, we get there soon. And I said, well, you know, I thought it was only a 20-minute drive. We're driving over the worst pothole-riddled roads I've ever seen, through the worst abject poverty I've ever been through. Little children are running around in the streets scantily clad. Old people are laying up against cardboard shacks. And I thought, this is terrible. Here I am in my party dress. It's a little bit surreal that I'm going to a party through all of this. So I said, so excuse me, Mr. T, I just need to know, it's been about 25 minutes. It's a 20-minute drive. How much longer is it? And he kept saying, irritated with me now. We get there soon. Don't worry. So I'm like, okay, well, and nobody to talk to. And at this point, I really started to think, what am I going to tell the FBI or the CIA or whoever comes in to do, you know, negotiations to get me back? Nobody knows I'm here. All I have is a passport. And these two, you know, goons aren't really talking to me. So another 10 minutes goes by and we're not there. And I'm really freaking out at this point. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, okay, you've seen some karate and stuff on TV. You could probably take one of them, you know, but you're going to have to seriously distract the other one. And I kept all the scenarios running through my head. So I thought, well, if we don't get there in another 5 minutes, I'm going to start having a real hissy fit, and maybe they'll stop and figure out what we need to do. So about 5 more minutes goes by, and I said, look, you guys, I need to know. I've got a party. I've got a client waiting. You know, there's a lot of money on the line. And finally, Mr. T says to me, look, we are there. And I looked, and rising up out of the dust was this huge mansion. Marble pillars, fountains, water fountains going, manicured lawns. It was gorgeous. And as I pulled up, I noticed that, you know, it was totally fenced in, and there on each corner there was like a little guardhouse and guys with guns. And I thought, wow, they take security pretty serious here. Maybe they just don't have one of those internal security systems, you know. So I get out of the car. I'm totally through with Mr. T at this point. And my Mexican event planner meets me there, and she says, everything's all set. You're all good to go. And she takes off, and I said, well, wait a minute, you're not staying for the event? She said, no, you're going to do fine. Everything is perfect. Raul is going to help you. And she took off, so I thought, wow, she must have a really hot appointment that she can't stay for an event that she helped me plan. And I thought, whatever. I've never been accused of being the brightest bulb in the marquee. So I walk in, and I meet Raul, who's also another man in black with a radio in his ear, and he's barking orders, and so everybody's jumping to his tune. I figured he must be the maitre d'. So I'll make contact with him and tell him who I am and that I want to get backstage, see the talent, make sure things are going. I went right into event mode, and he said, right this way, I will take you to the client. We went up this marble staircase. There's art hanging everywhere. This is just amazing. Walk into this huge ballroom. The tables were set. Beautiful linens, crystal, china, candles, lovely little floral arrangements. The mariachis were playing, the dancers were dancing. We had caricature artists drawing pictures of everybody. We had jugglers, we had mimes, we had every kind of, you know, artist that you could think of that you could have at a party that wouldn't be too distracting. And I went over to my client, who was just, you know, at this point he was living la vida loca. He was feeling no pain whatsoever, and the bar was open. Told him who I was and said, I'm Donna Vessey. I'm going to be checking everybody out. I'll be the event planner for the night. I'm going to go backstage and check on the dancers. So I went backstage and introduced myself and went right into this whole planning mode. And everything was going perfect when Mr. T comes up to me and he says, time, we go now. And I said, we go now? You need to chill, Sparky. We just got here, and this party is going to go probably till 2 in the morning. And he said, no, we have to go now. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know, maybe he's got some late-night gym appointment that I don't know about. And I said, well, you know, I need to say goodbye to my client. And at that point, things were going okay. It was going smooth. And I thought, they don't really need me here. And if I have to get him to the gym, then I'm ready to go. So I said to my client, I have to go. Things are going well, and I don't think you need me anymore. And he said, well, you can't go until you dance with me. And I went, no, I'm an event planner. I don't dance with the client. I'm a behind-the-scenes kind of girl. And he said, well, you're going to dance with me. Well, I noticed there wasn't really hardly any other women in the room, maybe 2, and they were guests of people that were there. So I decided I better dance with him so he, you know, doesn't have a hissy fit. And we danced the longest dance I've ever danced. I thought, why don't these mariachis just stop? You know, I can't take it any longer. So finally, the dance was over. I walked, I shook his hand, he kissed my little hand, and he said, oh, thank you, this is beautiful, you did a good job. And I got Mr. T, who is just, he's pacing at this point. We walk back to the top of the stairs. Raul is coming up the stairs, and I said, well, you guys just need to hold on for a minute because I need to say thank you to Raul for all of his hard work. And I said, I appreciated everything, looks beautiful, you did a fabulous job. And I said, I just, as a little afterthought, a little FYI here, if the city of Juarez can build a conference center like this, you guys also need an orphanage, and you need a homeless shelter and a soup kitchen. I said, have you guys been outside the gate? It's pretty grim. Now he's looking at me like I've got 3 heads, And he said, this isn't a conference center. And I said, well, what is it? He said, this is the private home of blah, 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 blah. And I said, wow, still not getting it. And I said, he must do really well. What does he do for a living? And he goes, he's in pharmaceuticals. So at that point, I realized he was probably more on the trafficking end of pharmaceuticals than he was on the distribution, manufacturing part. So I stuck really close to Mr. T. We got back in that SUV, and we made it across the border. And I need to tell you that no one ever checked my passport going in or out. Nobody ever looked into the car. And the next day, on the way back to DIA, I was sitting next to this lovely mocha-colored girl, and she said to me, you were in Juarez. And I said, yeah. And she said, what were you doing there? I said, I was giving a party. I had an event. And she said, in Juarez. And I said, well, it was somewhere around Juarez. She said, well, there's no conference centers in Juarez. And I said, right, I got that. And she said, how much hostage insurance did they have on you? And I said, hostage insurance? I've never heard of it. I've got life, home, auto, health. I never heard anything about. She said, you should never go into Juarez without hostage insurance. And I said, well, I'll add that to my list then. Hostage insurance, valet parking, catering, and that is how I became an international event planner.